Welcome to Man in Progress, Forging Manhood. I'm Travis Murray, values coach and your guide to building a life driven by real values. Each week we explore what it means to be a man today, talk about and to thinkers and doers who've been through it, and give you steps to show up better for yourself and those you love. If you're ready to forge your own path, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the Man in Progress, Forging Manhood podcast. I'm your host, Travis Murray. A forger lifts the steel from water. The surface looks clean at first, smooth, bright, and strong. Then the light shifts. A thin fracture runs down the spine, invisible in the fire, only visible in the cooling. That is how most men break, not in the heat of crisis, in the quiet afterward. The world is in this season of fractures. You can feel it. I can feel it. The Surgeon General called loneliness an epidemic. Young men report the highest levels of friendlessness in American history. Families are splitting. Friendships are fading. The cost of living rising while wages stall. Wars play through our screens like background fire. Everyone feels the pressure. Few know what to do with it. A lot of men think they are breaking because they are weak. They are not. They are breaking because the world is bending faster than their old tools can handle. This episode is about cracks. The ones forming inside you now. The ones forming in your friendships. The ones forming in the world. And the question every man has to face. What do you do when the blade you have been swinging starts to split? Take a breath, drop your shoulders, step toward the heat. A fracture does not mean failure. It means the truth has surfaced. Every generation has pressure. Ours has speed. Things break faster now. Jobs disappear. Friendships fade behind screens. News cycles hit like waves. Everyone is shouting. Nobody is listening. And when the world fractures, men feel it first in silence. The Surgeon General called loneliness a public health crisis. In their data, one group stands out with the highest friendlessness. Men ages 18 to 29. Almost 2 out of 3 report having no close friendships. Think about that for a moment. No brothers to call, no elders to guide, no apprentices to mentor. Just noise, just pressure. Just a man with no one at the anvil beside him. Economically, the cracks spread too. Rent climbs. Food prices rise. Credit card debt has hit record highs. Men who are taught to be providers feel like they are failing even when they are working themselves to exhaustion. That kind of invisible pressure bends steel. It makes you grind your teeth in the dark. It makes you scroll for hours because you cannot fix what feels too big to name. Then there is the global backdrop. Wars overseas, leadership crisis, culture fights, TikTok feeds full of shouting men promising certainty and dominance if you just follow their script. They speak with confidence, but confidence is not wisdom. They pull young men in with anger because anger feels stronger than fear. But anger only hides fractures. It does not heal them. The world is cracking in 100 directions, and those cracks land inside you whether you admit it or not. There is no shame in feeling overwhelmed by a world that is overwhelmed itself. What matters is what you do next. There is the world's fracture, then there is yours. Men break quietly, not in dramatic moments, not in Hollywood scenes. We break in the small, private spaces where nobody is looking. A missed call from a friend who used to check in, a partner who seems distant, a son who pulls away. A job that feels less stable each month. A bill that should have been easier to pay. Each one is a tap on the metal, and each one spreads the line a little farther. If you grew up without much guidance, you know how cracks start early. If you carry guilt from past relationships or mistakes, you know how shame creates its own fracture line. If you moved away from your kids, you know how distance aches in a place deeper than bone. These fractures are real. They shape how you breathe, how you react, how you trust. A lot of men react to cracks by tightening up. They pretend nothing is wrong. They tell themselves to get over it. They scroll, lift, grind, push, distract. The crack hides under the surface until the next quench. Then it shows itself again. Here is the truth. You do not heal by ignoring fractures. You heal by studying them, by understanding where the line started, by admitting you are carrying more than you let on, and by letting someone else step beside you long enough to see the line for what it is. This is the part most men avoid, but if you do not face the cracks inside you, you will repeat them in every relationship you enter, every brotherhood, every partnership, every promise you make. You are not weak because you fracture. You are human. You are the steel under pressure, and steel can be reforged. There is a unique pain that comes from fractures between men. Women feel relationship loss too, but the shape of it is different. Men are often raised in a kind of emotional drought. When we finally trust another man, even a little, that trust becomes sacred. You can keep secrets for years. You can serve each other through breakups or hardship. You can stand shoulder to shoulder without saying much, and all of that can still vanish in a moment. Sometimes the fracture comes from betrayal. A friend talks behind your back. A brother figures out who you used to be instead of who you are becoming. A man you respected uses your vulnerability as a weapon. Research shows that when men lose a close male friend, they often never repair that bond. They withdraw instead. They replace connection with work or distraction. They say they are fine. They are not. They walk around with a hairline fracture across the chest. Sometimes the fracture comes from slow erosion. A man you know gets married, another moves, one has a baby, one gets sober, one spirals. You say you will stay in touch. The truth is, life pulls you in different directions. The friendship starts to thin, not because of conflict, but because nobody says the quiet part. I miss you. I feel left out. I wish we still talked. Those lines never get spoken, so the distance grows. You wake up one day and realize the man you once knew everything about has become a stranger you scroll past on social media. There are fractures shaped by envy too. Research on men in competition shows that when men feel they are falling behind their peers in money, relationships, or status, they pull away instead of admitting insecurity. You see a friend winning, buying a house, getting in shape, building a business. A part of you feels pride for him. Another part feels like you are losing a silent race he never agreed to run. Instead of saying, "Teach me how you did that," you retreat. The fracture spreads. And some fractures begin inside the man himself. A man who hates his own reflection cannot believe anyone loves him for real. A man who feels ashamed of his past will push away anyone who gets close enough to touch it. A man who has never been taught conflict will ghost before he will talk, not out of cruelty, out of fear. The fractures between men do not always come from malice. Most come from silence. We were never taught how to repair, so we leave cracks where they are and hope they stop growing. But cracks never stop. They wait, they deepen, they become the story you never wanted to tell. Brotherhood is not about avoiding fractures. It is about learning how to face them without losing yourself. A man does not only fracture in friendships, he fractures in purpose. In this world, the pressure hits from multiple angles at once. You are told to be a provider. You are told to chase dreams. You are told to grind. You are told to rest. You are told to be gentle. You are told to be fierce. You are told to evolve. You are told to stay strong. These instructions crash into each other. The conflict creates a stress line in the soul. Economically, the numbers speak for themselves. Rent is up. Groceries are up. Saving accounts are down. Many men are working longer hours with less stability than their fathers ever had. A study by Pew Research shows that a growing number of young men feel they will never reach the financial security their parents have. That kind of belief shapes a man's spine. It makes him question not just his career, but his worth. Now, what if a man loses his job, gets laid off, and is having a hard time finding another? Where's his worth then? Purpose fractures in strange ways. Sometimes you lose passion in the job that once energized you. Sometimes you stay in a role that crushes your spirit because you believe leaving would make you a failure. Sometimes you chase a goal that stopped being yours years ago. You keep pursuing it because you do not know who you are without the chase. The world tells men their purpose is tied to output, money, status, promotions, power. When any of those crack, the man cracks with them. But research on male well-being shows something deeper. Men who tie worth to performance alone break faster and harder. There's another kind of fracture, the one that comes from not feeling needed. Humans are tribal creatures. Men historically held roles where they protected, guided, hunted, built, or led. In a world where traditional roles are changing, a lot of men feel useless. They are not. They are simply in a transition our culture has not explained. When a man cannot see where his strength fits, he doubts he has any. That doubt spreads like a crack. Purpose cracks when a man forgets that meaning is not given, it is forged through action, through alignment, through service, through choosing what kind of man you want to be in a world that refuses to slow down. Every swordsmith knows there is a moment of truth. When you inspect the blade under light, you tilt it, you search for cracks. You do not panic when you find them. You study them. You ask one question: can this be repaired or must it be reforged? Men avoid this question because it forces honesty. But repair or release is the turning point of maturity. Some fractures can be healed. Others need to be melted down so something truer can rise. Repair begins with truth. You name the fracture without excuses. You admit the friendship that drifted hurts you. You admit the jealousy you buried. You admit the fear you hide from your partner. You admit you are struggling more financially than you let on. Truth is the first strike of the hammer on the repair. Repair requires conversation. Men hate hard talks. We think conflict means failure. Research shows the opposite. Friendships with honest conflict last longer. Marriages with healthy repair conversations have higher satisfaction. Brotherhoods with clear boundaries stay strong. Repair conversations are awkward. They are uncomfortable, but they create life. Repair requires humility. You might have caused the fracture, or part of it. Pride will tell you to stand your ground. Integrity tells you to say, I should have shown up better. Humility does not make you less of a man. It makes you repairable. But some fractures are not meant for repair. Release is not quitting. Release is wisdom. If a man keeps wounding you after you have tried to repair, release him. If a purpose keeps draining you with no sign of renewal, release it. If an old identity keeps pulling you back into shame, release it. If an online influencer fills you with anger instead of strength, release him. If you are staying because you fear change, that is not loyalty. That is self-abandonment. In Japanese swordsmithing, there is a practice called kintsugi. It repairs pottery with gold. The fracture becomes the art. The break becomes the strength. In forging, repairs sometimes leave faint marks too. Marks that tell a story. Marks that show a blade has lived. You are no different. Repair or release. Both require courage. Both require clarity. Both move you forward. The only path that keeps you fractured is the one where you do nothing. There is a moment every forger knows. A moment where strength stops being theory and becomes truth. The blade has been heated, shaped, cooled, and sharpened. Now the forger lifts it by the spine and taps it with the smallest touch of metal. The blade speaks. Steel has a voice, A true blade rings with a clear tone. A fractured blade gives a dull thud. The forger does not argue with the sound. He does not explain it away. He does not pretend it means something else. He listens. He trusts the ring more than his ego. Men rarely give themselves that test. We walk through life carrying blades we never tap. We assume we are fine because we keep moving. We assume we are strong because we keep working. We assume our friendships are solid because nobody has said otherwise. We assume our purpose is sturdy because we have not stopped long enough to question it. Modern life encourages that ignorance. Noise is everywhere. The average person touches their phone over 2,000 times a day. Notifications fire like sparks from an overheated forge. Every scroll pulls you away from yourself. Every argument online steals a little clarity. Every opinion from a stranger becomes a pressure point you never asked for. The constant noise keeps a man from hearing what is happening inside his own chest. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever just stopped, sat down, and listened to your own heartbeat? Felt the pain in your limbs? Felt the pain of emotion in your chest? If you haven't, take a minute or two and do this. Identify each pain, each fracture inside yourself. Honestly, it might just save your life. Research on mental resilience shows something simple. Men who create intentional silence each day have steadier stress markers, low cortisol, and higher emotional regulation. Silence is not weakness. It is sharpening. Silence is where the blade's tone is revealed. This is not poetic. It is necessary. You must create a place where you can hear the ring of your own steel, not the world's, not your past, not your fears, yours. Maybe you need 5 minutes in your car before work. Maybe it's a long drive without any music or distraction. Maybe it is standing in the shower with your eyes closed until the water turns cold. Maybe it is journaling before sunrise or sunset. Maybe it is prayer. Maybe it is therapy. Maybe it is sitting in the dark after your kids go to bed and breathing slow until your mind stops racing. What matters is that you stop and you listen. When you tap the blade of your life, you ask questions that pierce through the noise. Do my values show up in my actions or only in my intentions? Do I feel proud of how I handle the people I love this week? Am I stuck in a version of myself I outgrew? Is my anger hiding fear? Is my exhaustion hiding loneliness? Is my silence protecting others or protecting my ego? Is the life I'm living aligned with the life I say I want? These are not easy questions, and they should take you some time to answer them. While you answer them, write them down, write down the answer. They reveal the ring of your blade. A true tone does not mean perfection. A true tone means alignment, integrity, congruence. You might still be struggling. You might still be scared. You might still be tired. But your steps are honest. You are not hiding. You are not pretending. You are not living in fracture you refuse to acknowledge. A dull tone is not failure. A dull tone is a map. It shows you where the next forging must begin. It reveals the part of the blade that needs heat, pressure, or reshaping. Men who ignore the dull tone eventually snap. Men who honor it become unbreakable. This world will not hand you silence. It will not hand you clarity. It will not hand you alignment. You carve it out. You protect it. You return to it again and again, because a man who knows the sound of his own blade becomes a man who does not get knocked out of shape by every change in the world around him. When your blade rings true, you walk differently. You speak differently. You love differently. You stand differently. And you become the kind of man others can trust because you have finally learned how to trust yourself. There comes a point in every man's life where excuses fall silent, a point where the old story cracks, a point where the mask slips, a point where the world's pressure forces you to face what you have never been able to, what you have been avoiding. That point is now. You have seen the fractures in the world, wars that keep burning, communities falling apart, loneliness rising like smoke, economic pressure stretching men thinner than they admit. You have seen the fractures in friendship, men drifting away, trust eroding, silence replacing depth. You have seen fractures in purpose, work draining you, dreams growing distant, identity feeling unstable. And you have felt the fractures inside yourself, the quiet insecurity, the heavy mornings, the anger that comes out sideways, the guilt that follows you into every room, the longing for connection that you do not know how to ask for, the pressure to be strong while feeling like you are crumbling. You are not weak for feeling any of this. You are honest. A man who feels the fracture is a man who can be reforged. Tonight, you make a choice, not a grand transformation, not a 10-step plan. You're making one choice, one action, one direction. Choose one fracture. Face it with clean truth. If you are lonely, send a real message to a man, not a meme, not a joke, a sentence with weight. If you are drifting in purpose, write one clear line about the man you want to become. Not someday, today. If you feel abandoned, admit it to yourself instead of pretending you are above it. If you have been the one who caused the fracture, take responsibility without using shame as a shield. If you are overwhelmed financially, name the fear instead of hiding it behind bravado. If a friendship keeps wounding you, step back without bitterness. If a friendship matters more than your pride, take the first step toward repair. If you have been carrying anger, dig beneath it and find the wound, because anger is the armor emotions wear when they want to be seen. And if you have no idea where to start, ask yourself one simple question. Which part of me hurts the most when I am alone? Begin there. That's where I began. A man's strength is not measured by how tightly he holds himself together. It is measured by how honestly he faces the cracks and how willingly he returns to the forge. Shame keeps you stuck. Pride keeps you frozen. Fear keeps you isolated. But truth moves you forward. Remember this. A fracture is not the end of the blade. It is the place the light enters. A fracture is not failure. It is information. A fracture is not shame. It is instruction. A fracture is the map toward the next version of you. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not alone. You are a man in progress. So step toward the fire. Lift the hammer. Do the work that other men avoid. Forge the part of you that cracked. Forge the part of you that still aches. Forge the part that wants to rise. The world may be splitting, divided, being conquered, at war with itself, angry over everything. But you are still here. You are still breathing. You still have heat in your hands. Return to the forge. Your cracks are not your failure. They are the doorway to your strength. Say that to yourself. My cracks are not my failure. They are the doorway to my strength. Go ahead, repeat it. Thank you for making it this far, for trusting me and doing the work for yourselves. If you have no one else, or even if you do, open up the description of this podcast and click Send a Text. Send me a message. I would love to hear from any of you. And click the share button and share this with somebody. And remember, you are not broken. You are not a failure. You are a man in progress. And we are forging manhood here. Thank you for listening.